welcome to Saturday School. My name's Claire Perry-Louise and we're going to talk about how to grow your business for free. Because, thank you Hazel, because sometimes, especially if we're getting started, we are not necessarily wanting to invest lots of money into it. And the things I'm talking about today, about how to grow your business for free, was basically the whole way I grew my business over the last 10 years and created a lot of incredible opportunities by doing the things I'm talking about at the moment. So I have worked with some of the best entrepreneurs. I've been asked to work with them, and that's all gone through all the things that I'm talking about today. So pay attention, because hopefully you will learn something new this morning. Good morning, Ian. Nice to see you. So let me know, what do you need to grow a business? Put your answers in the chat. We will have a look, see who can get the right answer. What do you need to grow a business? Let's see what your answers are. See if you've got the same one as me. Okay, let's not overcomplicate it. What do you need to grow a business? Oh, who was it? Oh, William, straight in. Yes. Customers. Billy, network. Yes. Approachable service that people want. Yes, Alan, that is also true. Perseverance, definitely. These are lots of good things you need. Customers. Yes. Yes. Something to sell. Perfect. All of these things. Look, suddenly I have captions. Goodness me. They're going to have to keep up with me. Traffic, yes, you do. Excellent. Digital marketing tools, yes, Valentin, that is all the things you need. So you need all of those things. But today we are going to focus on this. People. People are everything, because this is what life's about. This is what business is about. And I think that sometimes we can get caught up in thinking, right, if we sign up for this new tool or do this new approach, then we will get the success that we're looking for. However, it always comes down to human, doing business with somebody else. And so there's certain things that will make it much easier to attract the people who want to buy your products and service. And that's what we're going to be talking about. Thank you for your answers. They were very spot on. Excellent. So relationship building's super key. And we're going to have a look at what tools will help you create the relationships you need to grow your business and generate more sales and increase your referral rates. So the most important thing that you can do is grow your network in an authentic way. Now, that's what I mean about, say on LinkedIn, if you're using LinkedIn, let me know in the chat if you use LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn, you get lots of requests. Yes, Tim does and Alan does. You get so many requests, don't you, to connect. And then a lot of people write something quite, like they haven't even read your profile, and then they connect with you and they pretend, they say, oh, I see you're an excellent, and they say something that they might have read somewhere on your profile, but it isn't really you. And then they try and say, oh, we're running this webinar, but you're just not interested, are you? So you might be thinking, right, it's a good idea to grow my network because it just increases my reach. But actually, if you don't do it in an authentic way, then it's actually a waste of time, because you're never going to follow up and engage with those posts, and it's not going to grow your business. So what business are you in, Hazel? And you don't use LinkedIn. So this is really important. Know your values. So if you've heard me speak before, you know I have talked about this before. So your values are the things that connect you to other people. Or your values are actually, well, they don't connect you to other people, but if you share similar values with someone else, it's more likely you're going to have a stronger connection. So values, if you look at your life and then you think about yourself as a tree with all your branches, and you look at the things that you do in your life. So you might be really family orientated. And so family is one of the values that you hold true to you and something that's important to you. You may value your health. You might always be running or at the gym or being careful about what you eat. That's another value. If you are, you love buying books. So I love buying books. I've got loads of books. All my books, all the ones behind you are non-fiction. They're all business books, personal development books, that kind of thing, because I really love growing as an individual and learning. So that's like one of my values. So if you know your values, it's really easy to connect with other people who share other values, and that can lead to business. So an example of that recently was I put together with my community this book called On a Friday. And this book is telling the stories of purpose-led leaders who are in my community. And at the front of the book, I've written in it, and there's a foreword in there, and it was sent to somebody who, it wasn't sent by me, it was sent by somebody in the community to somebody who runs their own digital ads agency. And she read it and she completely connected to what was written in there. And in the book, it shares the values of my community, and it talks about, like I said, the stories of leaders in there. And because that aligned with her, she got in contact with me, and then she hired me to work in her business. So I really can't iterate how important it is to know what your values are and what you want to connect to. So in the past, I've done things and they haven't really resonated with me, and it makes me feel a little bit uncomfortable. And that's because the values are not connecting. So make sure you know your values. So maybe take a couple of minutes, write down what you value. What do you think your values are? If you want to, you can share them with me in the chat. While you write them down for a second. Affiliate marketing. Okay, Hazel. Okay. So, know what your values are. Make sure you've written it down. Let's have a look. Oh, excellent. You're sharing them. Perfect. Nick says, trust, integrity, having fun, and being edgy. I like that, being edgy. It's always like being, I'm one of those people who I hate following, I just hate sometimes following the crowd. So, you know, if you're at an event and then someone starts clapping because someone says something, unless I really resonate with it, I just wait, I can't follow everybody else because everyone else is clapping. I'm just like, yeah, I don't know if the word's edgy, but I'm just like deviant maybe. Honesty, perfect. Ethics, honesty and fairness, fabulous. And bespoke. Bespoke. That's a nice value. Bespoke, I never heard of that before. Yeah, absolutely. Don't be a sheep. Do not be a sheep. A sheeple. I never heard it called a sheeple before. So this is a tip, and actually something I thought recently again about leaning into, and that is about creating an attraction list. So if you could create your ideal network, what would it look like? So Hazel's doing affiliate marketing. Now, say she's doing affiliate marketing and she's selling products. Tropic beauty products. They're a beauty brand, Tropic is, and they have ambassadors and they sell their products. So then you think about who would use those products, and they've got different people, different products aimed. So they've got a whole load of products aimed at new mums with babies, all of those kind of things. So she could create an attraction list of places where new mums hang out, where are new mums, what groups are they in on Facebook, where can you find them, and that would be one example. If you are looking for purpose-driven leaders, then where do they hang out? They hang out around things around, you need to look for other businesses that will attract that kind of person. So there's an organization, so if you like TED Talks, there's something similar based in Wales called the Do Lectures. And people who do the Do Lectures are really interested in living more purpose-driven lives. So that would be a great place for me to start looking for people who might be aligned with my community. And so I would need to probably do things like look at their social media and have a look at who's following them, who likes their posts. And then I could follow them and start building engagement and just building up a list around there. So think about your ideal network and what would it look like. So who would be in it? So think about your brand and your services, or what you want to do. So if you want to be a speaker and you want to be a speaker on property, you need to start building your network around the property space. So who would be in it? What qualities would they have? What types of clients would they work with? What would they value? And how could you add value to them? And think about, where do those people spend their time? So it could be in person, it could be online. It just depends what you're doing. Hi, Peter. That is very nice. I'm glad I'm on your list. So nice to see you every time I'm on here. I feel like we do these forever now. I think I have been doing them forever, haven't I? So make a list, write some notes, and see if you can do one of these things after you get off the call from me. So now you've got your attraction list, review it. So divide your list into two. You're going to have an online list and an offline list. And actually now we've come out of the whole pandemic, much more, it's so nice being able to meet people in person, because there's a whole different energy around meeting people in person. And then you can start creating attraction lists and networks closer to home. So since I started my business and started my journey that I just spoke about when I was working, when I started work, so initially I started working with Simon, and I was doing membership sites. I wrote a book about membership sites. I was running seminars about membership sites. I was speaking at events about membership sites. And that attracted a certain type of person who was interested in that model. And that's not necessarily the same type of person I'm trying to attract now. So my list has obviously changed in between those two. So if you're going down the offline route, think about and list the types of events they attend. So like I was saying to you, people in my community, and a lot of my people in my community are also following and engaged with the events that happen with the Do lectures. In fact, my community actually started with people who went to a Do lectures event online, and then they came along and we built relationships over time, and it turned into a business model where it's now a membership site as such, but it's an ongoing relationship building with people who share similar values to me. So if you're doing this for yourself, think about the types of events they attend. Do they run their own events? You can use Meetup. Has anyone ever used Meetup before? You can look at Eventbrite as well, see what's going on. So in the past, about probably 3 or 4 years ago, I went on to Eventbrite and I found a workshop, and it was on something like, it was January, and it was a vision board workshop or something. So set you up for the year, like sort out what you wanted to do for the year. And I went along, it was to someone's house, it was quite random. And I met some people there and they're super aligned. And one of my friends who I met there, Emily, we're still really good friends now, and she's super aligned. So these things can lead to really good relationships, and we might do work together. She recommends me to people, and you build up all these really strong relationships with people who are similar to you and who are out there cheering you on because they are aligned, because you did the values work to start with. And then online, so you can do it offline, but you can also do it online. So which social platforms are they prolific on? So some people really are prolific on Instagram. So I follow somebody who sells products, and she's prolific on Instagram, but she's not on LinkedIn, okay? Because her audience is on Instagram, because they are buying the products that she's selling, jewelry and bags and things like that. So think about where your people are. Now, this is another thing, when you started to do this, and you do this for free, we're going to learn in a bit about Facebook ads, but before we get there, don't try and spread yourself too thinly. So I would definitely recommend that you get your handle. So that means if you're on Instagram, my name on Instagram is Claire Perry-Louise. I also have Claire Perry-Lou on Twitter, Claire Perry-Louise on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. So I've got those, but it doesn't mean that I don't use Twitter, even though I have a Twitter account. I don't really use Twitter. I've never used Twitter. So it's best to find a social media platform that you can do really, really well, rather than trying to spread yourself too thinly. So let me know in the chat, which is your favorite social media platform? We'll see where everyone is at the moment. Let me know. I think for me currently, I like LinkedIn. To be honest, overall, I'm not the biggest fan of social media, really. I built my whole business using Facebook, and probably why I ended up working with Facebook. So I had a whole, I used to be really into Facebook, and now I don't really post on Facebook. So I kind of changed my whole way. I like LinkedIn. It's much more where my people are. Let's have a look. LinkedIn, Alan, WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger. And how about, so should you use social media like actual Facebook or actual Instagram, because they're messaging services? So yeah, LinkedIn is where I am. So we've got LinkedIn. LinkedIn comes up quite a bit. I think a lot of people are not enjoying Facebook quite so much. So once you know where your people are and you've decided on which social media you want to use, if you want to use social media, you can do all this offline, but people stay in contact through social media. So if you go to a networking event, it's probably going to link up with them through LinkedIn, and that's where you will build relationships afterwards. So if you go to a LinkedIn event, for example, let's say LinkedIn Local. Has anyone ever been to LinkedIn Local? So if you go to LinkedIn Local, it's an event for people to meet up in person, and you might take some photographs at that event. So you come back and then you might share those photos on your LinkedIn profile and tag in some of the people you met. And that's the first step to building some attraction, and building some connection, should I say, not attraction, but building some connection. And it's only small things that you need to do to start building up a network of people that really matter. So you have two options. You can just connect with anybody who connects with you on LinkedIn and just go, okay, I'll just connect with you. But what value are they adding to you, and what value are you adding to them? It's a two-way thing. But if you go to an event and you have a conversation with somebody and you find them really interesting, why not create a spreadsheet, people that you've met and you want to keep in contact with, and then make an effort to keep in contact with them. Who's not really on social media, and you're not on TikTok, but there's an amazing platform with over 1 billion users. Yeah, TikTok seems to be very popular, and I'm sure lots of people are making money on there, but my audience is definitely not on TikTok. You can kind of tell where people are because it's where you are as well. I'm not on TikTok. There is lots of ways to monetize TikTok, I'm sure, but it's not my platform. And you've got to do stupid videos, haven't you, I think. Now, this is really important because if you think about Nike and some of the campaigns they've done to bring in new business, they very much focus on the athlete and not on the brand Nike. So that's kind of like, oh, and they're wearing Nike shoes. And sometimes they don't even say it's Nike, they'll just show the logo at the end. So people do business with other people. So growing your own personal brand is really, really important, because that's the way people remember you, because they get to know you. And the way you can do this is by, and it's not even hard, it's super not hard, and it's free to do. It's connecting to other people. If you enjoy their content, and you're reading it on social media, rather than just read it, why not like it or comment below, or contribute to it, or even share their content? So if you read something, you think somebody else would really enjoy to read this in my network, why don't you send it to them and help? Because that's how you build it up. People see you as someone who wants to contribute to them rather than take from them. So this is really powerful as well. So the combination of having online connections with offline connections, because if you meet someone offline, you can build trust and relationships so much quicker because you're in the same physical space, and there's something that happens when you're in the same room as someone which doesn't happen when you're online. And lots of times nowadays, we have reverted to online conversations and connections. And you can do this easily for yourself. Well, if you're using online a lot and you're having connections with people through text messages, for example, why not start sending them voice messages? Because it builds a deeper level of connection, because you can hear the voice, you can hear the inclination, and it, for example, on LinkedIn, how many voice notes have you received? Has anyone ever received a voice note on LinkedIn? I've hardly had any. But if you want to connect with someone on LinkedIn and you send them a voice note, yes, excellent, Tracy. Tracy says she does them. She has received them and she does do them. Alan says yes as well. So I don't think I've had very many at all, but voice notes are much more personal. And so if you can't meet in person, why not send a voice note? Because it is much more, you're much more able to connect with the person and create a deeper relationship. And again, this is all free, and it's quicker to send in a voice note as well. These captions seem to be quite accurate, I think. Quite too much. Options seem to be quite too much, I think. They don't know what I'm saying now, do they? Right. This is really important. Forget about what you're going to get from it. So don't connect with someone just because you want something from them. Because sometimes it takes time, or always it takes time, to build up a trust in a relationship with somebody. But people can feel it. If someone gets in contact with you purely because they want something from you, you can just feel it. You just know, don't you? Like you get a message saying, oh, come and join this webinar, and you've never met them before, and you know they're not doing it because they want to make friends with you or they want to give you something. You can just feel it in the message. So forget about what you're going to get from it. So this is stuff you can do in your free time rather than scrolling. Build up your network, make connections, have conversations, appreciate people, what they're doing, highlight them if you think they are doing something good and you want to share it. All of those things, free to do, easy to do, but it builds up this really strong, again, a really strong network of really powerful relationships, because that's what it's done. Because if you think back to that first slide, it's about human to human, and that's what's important, because that's what we're all about, and we're all fundamentally after the same thing. We're looking for those fundamental needs. We need to, if you've heard me talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, love and belonging and connection and safety and all of those things, that's what we're all thriving on. So here's some examples, which are super old examples. My hair is super short. But this is how, in the beginning, I would build my network. So this is, on the left is me at Simon's event. There's Simon on stage, building network, helping out at events for free. This is helping out at a Daniel Priestley event where I'm holding something. What am I holding? Oh, I think I'm holding a cake. I'm holding a cake. A scone I'm holding, or a scone, whatever you say. Scone or scone? Who says scone? Who says scone? We could have a whole debate about it. But anyway, I'd go out and help at those events, not because I was going to get anything from it, but because it was building my network. So this girl here, her name's Linda, she was in the same kind of space, she had similar values because she was helping at the event, and it was we had some good conversations, I'm sure. So such a long time ago, you can see how long it is, back in the old days. So you can do that easily, help out. I can get paid for it, but actually about 5 years later, Daniel Priestley, if you know Daniel Priestley, He's written various books, Entrepreneur Revolution, Key Person of Influence, 24 Assets. Anyway, once we went out for lunch and he said, would I run his community, his client community, because he didn't trust anybody else to do it. And that came from the fact that I'd helped out years ago and I'd been around, and I'd never asked him if I could work for him. He asked me, and that is the ideal situation. So I know Daniel Priestley, wow, William. I know, he's pretty cool. And it was really cool running his client community on Facebook for a long time, and it was cool to be asked, to be honest. So yes, so how can you add value? So add value in ways that you might not necessarily think for. So actually, it was super fun. I'd go help at an event, spend some time in London, meet cool people. I didn't go up to Daniel and be like, hi Daniel, I just let him do this thing. I didn't really, but then one day he came to me and said, hi Claire. And I was like, okay, hi. And there you go. Have I used his questionnaire system? Scorecard. Have I used it? No, but Simon's used it. Simon has it on his website. So Simon's involved with that, I think. Pretty cool system, I think. Daniel Priestley has a lot of good stuff to share. So if you're interested in entrepreneur stuff, follow Daniel Priestley, get his book, or his multiple books. I think he just brought out another one, actually, a scorecard one. So now, easy things you can do. Can you make a connection for somebody else in your network with somebody else you know? So I've done this lots of times. Introduce, say, Daniel Priestley to somebody else I know, or Simon Coulson, I'd probably introduce him to other people I know. I just kind of do it all the time, but not because I'm getting anything out of it, just because it's helpful to them. It builds their network, and it also builds up, I'm not sure what the word is, but not like credit, but it's just like, actually, they're not trying to take anything. They're just trying to contribute to me and help me. And it really does make a difference. A big fan of Daniel Priestley, William, I can tell. And also referrals. Like, if you can't do something for somebody, maybe you know somebody else. And I've done a whole Saturday school about this, I think, in the past, about the power of reviews and referrals. So my community is completely referral based. So if anyone who comes to it is known by somebody else in the community, and the reason that works is because you can straight away see if they're a right fit. And that's really where the power comes from, because rather than trying to market out there without knowing who's coming into it. So that's why it's super small and super values driven and all those things. So who can you make a referral for today? And I've said this before, but go to LinkedIn, if you use LinkedIn, and leave someone who's given value to you, or maybe they did some work for you, and give them a referral or recommendation, it's called on LinkedIn. And don't do it because you want to get a recommendation from them. Just do it because you want to help and add to them. Because once you start adding to people's lives and contributing in a positive way, then suddenly you seem to open yourself up to other opportunities. They kind of come through. And there's no, just because you give to one person doesn't mean you're going to get back from that person. You might get back from somebody else. Yeah, exactly. Builds up rapport. And Curie, is that how you said it? Ancurie. I don't know if I said it right, but thank you. Yes, it builds up rapport. So see how you can build up rapport to strengthen it. It's literally, it's not even difficult, but it's about taking you out of the equation and thinking, what can I do for others? And as you start doing this, you will start building a stronger and stronger network, and you will get referrals. People will recommend you. And it's just that snowball effect, because we all want to be in the space where, so Daniel Priestley, perfect example. He came to me and said, would I work for him? I didn't go to him. Another thing that happened was with my community. It was a free community when I started it off. And then 6 months in, the community came to me and said, we want to pay you. We want to pay you a regular contribution every month. And now it's turned into a membership site, and it's turned into a business model that generates money. I didn't go to them, they came to me. So there's two examples of all the things that I've been talking about, how it really does work. And it's not, I can't give you a magic bean that's going to make it happen overnight, but you can do this for free every single day to build up a really strong network of people who are aligned with who you are and what you want to be. So if you're in the health space, build a network in the health space. If you're in a different area, if you're a coach, build a relationship with other coaches. You could get referred, all of these things. So it's super important. So like I was saying, can you give your time? So do they have an event coming up that you could support them at, like I just showed? So think about who you want in your space. Can you support them? What else can you give them? Things like I said, like, can you give them a testimonial? Like half the time people don't get a testimonial, not because they're not good, but because people get on with their own lives. But can you give them a testimonial? Maybe you've got their book and you can give it away to someone on your behalf. So the example I told you earlier about working in the business and running the workshops for the day, that opportunity came because this book, which I'm in at the front, which I led the community, and it's not just my story in this, it's the whole everyone's story. This book ended up in the hands of the CEO, and she read it and she saw my name, and then she got in contact with me, and that's how it happened. So it doesn't always have to come from you when you build up a strong network. William says, what's the best software platform to launch a brand new membership program? Well, that is such a massive question in terms of not knowing exactly the context, but because there's so many different options. But let me tell you, so my community, this started because I use Zoom. And all I did was I said, who wants to meet up? And I did it twice a week, Thursdays and Fridays. And I said, here's the link. So I used Zoom, and that started a community. And then as the community strengthened and people came on the Zoom call once a week or twice a week initially, I then thought we need to have conversations outside of the weekly meeting. So we use WhatsApp. And then I use Kajabi to hold the content that I create in the community because we run masterclasses. So that's an example. Keep, I haven't heard of. There's so many different membership platforms. But what I'd say about membership sites is the fact that if you're going to have a new kitchen, you don't ask the kitchen fitter which screwdriver he's using, because what you're interested in is what it's going to look like, how it's going to feel, how people are going to come along to your kitchen and how they're going to enjoy the space. And then once you find those people and you start connecting them, then you get the kitchen fitted, and then the screwdriver comes along. It's necessary, but not so important in the early stages. So if you're starting a brand new membership program, it's more about creating the connections and the relationships between the people and less about the screwdriver, so to speak. Yeah, so hopefully that answers that. So, oh, Infusionsoft. Thank you, William. I didn't know it was called that anymore. I mean, there's lots of things like Infusionsoft which do lots of amazing things, but if you're just starting out, it's too much. You don't need all these things. You really don't need them. If you've got a bigger business, put in Infusionsoft, or Keep as it's now called, but you don't need all this stuff to get started. So if you're doing a new membership, you're not going to need Infusionsoft. I wasted tens of thousands, not tens of thousands, well, maybe not tens of thousands. I've wasted definitely thousands of pounds on software I did not need in the early years. So don't make that mistake. So here's a few tips that you can do after you've met up with someone. Follow up, drop them an email. If you've got a Facebook group and they sound interested, you could invite them to your group. Don't do it in a spammy way, only if they want to. Send them a message like, hi, nice to meet you. You might need to follow up. But if connections are meant to work out, sometimes, you know, it's the ones that you don't push, the ones that come sort of almost through the back door. So where there is a connection and there is something worth exploring, you won't need to really force that connection. Where there isn't really a real connection with that person, you will need to force it a bit more. So as I've been saying, support them, engage their posts, like and share their content. If they've got aligned events, go and attend them, and support them, because that's what it's about. It's supporting each other and going to different things and shouting about them and telling your friends about them. And then they're like, oh, these people are cool. They're supporting me. What are they up to? So here are a few tools that you can use to build relationships in your business, which are pretty much free, or there are free versions. So Facebook groups, you could use a membership site of some description, probably not totally free. A podcast, you could use anchor.fm and host it for free on a podcast. Build a newsletter, that's a good thing to do, even if no one's really reading it. It gets you into the habit of sharing what you're up to. So I do 2 newsletters. So I do 2 newsletters. I do one for my community and people who follow that, which comes out every Wednesday. And then I do a LinkedIn one, which comes out every Friday. But it gets me into the routine of doing it. This week, I was stuck with what I wanted to write, and that's what I wrote. I was like, this week I'm just going to say force, flow, don't force. Sometimes you can't. So William says, how do you process payments if you only use Zoom and WhatsApp? So I process payments through Kajabi, which is my platform, which is connected to Stripe, and Stripe takes the membership payments. So that's how I do it. You could use PayPal, you could use links. You can do lots of things simply when you're getting started. I don't know how big your business is, how many people you're talking about, but there's lots of ways that you can do in the meantime to collect payments. You could probably open up a Stripe account and just you could link it. I think you can just send out invoices straight from Stripe, so you don't need that extra. But that's just one example of what I did. It doesn't mean it's the only way to do it. But I would say don't get too involved with expensive software until you need it. Okay, so how do you create engagement? So content creation is obviously important. What content you create will connect to your audience. So I write things all the time, like I said, twice a week. I often get an email saying, thanks so much, this really resonated, or I wanted to say this, but I didn't say it. And people are reading it. I don't even realize they're reading it because I post consistently. So my Wednesday newsletter comes out 6:30 p.m. every Wednesday, and it has done I don't know, for 2 years maybe. And so people on 6:30 on a Wednesday are going to get my newsletter, and the Friday one, I think I'm on my 34th week or 35th week of that. So every Friday I send out a newsletter, so people get to expect it. Community management is obviously big. Like, if you grow a community, how do you manage it? Creating leads from it and thinking about what value you get. So I manage my community in a simple way. I use Zoom and WhatsApp and Kajabi, and that's a whole topic in how to manage community and how to build community that I've spent 10 years learning. So I can't go into that too much here because we have not got time. Psychology is super important. Like, how do people engage? Why do you engage in the content that you engage? Because if you look at what your habits are and what your tendencies are, it's super likely that other people do the same things. And it's always like this self-awareness piece. So I know that if I'm not feeling very connected, I will pick my phone up and scroll on social media, or I'll think about buying something, because that creates that kind of hormone or endorphin. I think it's more likely endorphin, which gives you that spike, and you can notice things about yourself. So notice why you engage in certain content. Maybe that's the kind of content you could create. And different audiences will need different types of content. So think about that. So William, if you've just started, do not keep yet, because it's too much. You don't need all that. Like I say, my most successful things were started by just getting started. Like, it's so tempting to buy all the software. You don't need all the software. You don't need it. What you need is some people, even if it's one person, like, well, yeah, you and then somebody else. And then that person can bring somebody else. And then you've got 3. Sometimes we get completely and utterly fixated that we need 50,000 people doing this and this. We don't. In fact, at the end, I'm going to share something about how many people you actually need to create a really successful business. School for community management. I've not heard of School. Thank you for sharing that. I'll have a look at it. And Dave says, how much of what you do you outsource, and do I use automation? I do have a VA, virtual assistant, but I don't really use it as much as I should. That's the whole thing to lean into. Do I use automation? Automation, I do use it with Kajabi, which is my software platform. That automates things. So if people sign up to the website or sign up to be a member, they get a automatic email that tells them the links they need, that kind of thing. The Stripe and the membership payments are automated. The newsletter is automated, but I do type it I do it each week, so it's as automated as it goes out at 6:30, and I don't write it at 6:30. So that's what I do. The first thing and the last thing is trust. Like, how do you deepen trust and build long-term relationships like the big brands do? You know, a lot of that's about consistency, showing up regularly, doing what you say you will. And that's what branding and is really important, because people recognize brands and they trust them more because they get to know them. So some of the things I've been talking about, they're only the tools. There isn't a magic bullet that's going to create these relationships I've been talking about. So yes, it's for free, but it does take time, like any relationship. And I've said this before, if you go on a first date with someone, you're not going to have that trust that you're going to have built with someone if you've been on 15 dates or if you've been married to them for 30 years. You can't jump that process as much as we want to, and especially where you meet someone, you get all excited because you're like, oh great, these are going to be amazing for my business, and you're like, yeah, should we start our business together, and should we do this and do this? And it's like, you just got to take a step back and breathe and just go, okay. So Kajabi is not free. So if you want to create images and graphics, you can create those for free on canva.com. And then you upload them to Kajabi. But Kajabi is not a cheaper option. I've been a member of Kajabi for 9 or 10 years, so I'm on the founders thing. So but it's not for getting started really, Kajabi. It's quite advanced. But you only do need Kajabi because it does everything you need. Like, you don't need to buy lots of different software because it's all in one, including hosting your podcast. So have a look at your business, grab a pen and paper. What could you be doing to ensure that your tribe of people are excited and inspired to engage in your content on a regular basis? So what could you do? And it could be as simple as being consistent, like share every week or every day, whatever you decide. And if you can't share every day, just do it on a regular weekly basis, just so people know where they are with you. So have a look and see what you're doing already, if you can up that. And then if you have a service or customer already, think about, how does your customer feel after they purchased a product from you? Is there any special follow-up or personal touch you can do? Could you send them a postcard? Or if you ever buy things and they come through the post and they're all wrapped up nicely, or my daughter puts lots of things on Vinted, mainly my clothes. Where's that gone? She sold it on Vinted. But when she sends them out, she sends a little note with it and says, thank you for buying it, blah, blah, blah. And it just adds that, or she wraps it in tissue paper. Yeah, it's making me smile as my products go out the door on the Vinted account. But do that extra touch, because the tissue paper doesn't cost very much, but it makes it feel more special. So you're probably much more likely to get a good review. Could I put my daughter on eBay? Nice idea, Nick. I could possibly do that. Yeah, I could. Yes. I can't put her on eBay. Should love that. Maybe I need to increase her pocket money. Maybe she gets 0 at the moment. She does. Selling my stuff like it's going out of fashion. I've sold that. Oh, okay, that's nice. Okay. Question number 3. How can I go the extra mile for customers in a way that no one else is doing in my market right now? Just appreciate your customers. If you've got customers, appreciate them, especially if you haven't got many, because those will become your ambassadors. The people, I've got people in my community who've been there for 2.5 years. They turn up every single Friday for 2.5 years. They bring in the most people into the community. They are my biggest cheerleaders. Send them something, do something for them. That's nice. I'm glad, Valentin, you sent a small gift to your customer. That's nice. It doesn't have to be hardly anything. So talking to my daughter again, she came back with this chocolate bar the other day, and it wasn't much bigger than this piece of paper. It was quite small. And at the top, there was a little sticker on it, and it said, "Thank you for looking after my daughter." And my daughter had looked after her daughter because she'd had some issue at school. And she'd given her a little tiny chocolate bar, and it's just thoughtful. It was just really nice. So you can do this in your home life, and you can do it in all kinds of ways. I think I'm reiterating the point, like, how will you be different? Like, how do you reward your most loyal fans and clients? So in my community, we've got some jumpers or sweatshirts, whatever you like to call them. And they say on a Friday on them, and a few of them had them. I was going to show you one, but so yes, think about things like that you can do. Here are the tools you can nurture. Like I said, Facebook groups, easy and free to get started. You're going to have to invest time in them, though. Don't open up Facebook groups unless you are really going to invest the time. And also, I could do a whole day's training on Facebook groups. So, but it's just an idea, and a membership site. So it's part of a larger ecosystem. So if you have a Facebook group, you don't own it. It's owned by Facebook. And so Facebook can change the algorithm, they can shut it down, they can do all kinds of things. They can not show your posts to people, and you really are at the will of somebody else. But if you have a membership site, you own the asset. And so you might have a website, and like, you don't have everything. You have your own email list that's not owned by anybody else. It's owned by you. Podcasts are great to build credibility. You can share your expertise, and they're really good for collaboration as well, because you can interview other experts on there. And that's a super good way to build up your network, because they will share the content with their network. And so if, say, I interviewed Dan, who's coming up, and then we had a conversation about Facebook ads and community and all these things, and then we create this episode together, I share that to my community, and they're exposed to Dan, and then Dan, he shares me with his community, and I'm exposed to Dan's community. And so suddenly, if he's got 5,000 in his community and I got 5,000 in my community, suddenly you're exposed to 10,000 people by just doing one podcast. So that is the benefit of doing that. And the newsletter it's like a micro connection. It's a tiny connection. You do it every single week, and people get to read it, and you forget that people are reading it. So I went to a local event recently, and I could hear someone rustling behind me, and anyway, they were trying to get my attention, and they knew all about me, which was a little bit freaky, but equally they knew all about me. They're like, "Oh, were you involved with On a Friday, the book?" and da da da. Yeah, it does work. Is a 30-day challenge a good idea for a Facebook group? what's a good idea for a Facebook group or anything is something that you can create a way for your target audience to engage. So yes, a 30-day challenge could be a good idea. However, if I said to you now, William, shall we have a phone call every day for the next 30 days? You're like, maybe. That's quite a commitment. Like 30 days is quite a while. If I said we're going to have to do it every day for 30 days. If you said, should you have a call for the next 5 days, see if we can just like get things kick-started? Yeah, okay, 5 days. So that's what I would say about 30 days. It's quite a long time. And should you call the group the same name as your book? Well, I don't know what your book's called, and I don't know what's your intention around your business, what change do you want to make in the world with what you're doing. Will the name of your book, if your book's called William Thompson, then it's not going to attract people into the Facebook group. So 10 ways to make a profit. Possibly. You could call your book the same, but who are you going to find to put in your Facebook group? So and you have to ask yourself, so, and we can ask now, anybody on the call, would you join a Facebook group if you saw it and it was called 10 ways to make a profit? Let's see if anyone says yes. How many people would say yes? So we just go on. Let's see how many. We've got one yes from Ankery. Sorry if I say it wrongly. Right, so we've got some no's, a possibly, a yes, a maybe, a possibly, too vague, no, which is great. We're getting complete on the job feedback. So we've got a few who said we've got a yes. So do you see what I mean? It's like mixed. So that would be the answer. Thank you, everybody who commented there. That was helpful. So I just want to leave you with this, and then we're going to go on to Nick. And that is, think about how many fans you really need as well. Because like I said, we can get obsessed that we need loads of people. And if you go onto Google and you type in 1,000 true fans, you can read an article by Kevin Kelly. And he says that actually you only need 1,000 people who really, truly love you to create a very successful business.